Jennifer had always been a distracted person. Since childhood, her mind would wander to distant places, leaving her oblivious to the world around her. This peculiar trait often put her in hilarious situations that frequently left her parents alternating between laughter and sighs of concern. Once, at the age of 7, Jennifer was so absorbed in her thoughts during a walk in the park that she didn't notice when her family decided to leave. When she finally woke up, she found herself alone, sitting on a swing, animatedly conversing with a squirrel about her imaginary adventures. Her parents, in a panic, found her half an hour later, still engrossed in her monologue. On another memorable occasion during a Christmas play at school, Jennifer had a simple role. Dressed as a star, she was supposed to remain still at the top of a structure representing a large Christmas tree. However, lost in her daydreams about what life would be like as a real star in the sky, she became completely distracted and, without realizing it, began moving around the stage. As her costume was attached to part of the decoration, every step she took dragged along ornaments, curtains, and even some fellow cast members. The result was outright chaos. Angels stumbled, reindeer fell, and even Santa Claus himself was pulled along by the dreamy star, turning the solemn scene into a hilarious mess. As Jennifer grew up, her distraction continued to be a source of embarrassing and comedic moments. It was common to see her mistakenly entering the men's bathroom, walking past friends and family on the street without even noticing them. Once she went to work wearing a black shoe on her right foot and a colourful sneaker on her left, only realising the mistake when a colleague kindly pointed it out. On another memorable occasion, Jennifer confidently walked into a meeting room, sat at the table and started animatedly discussing marketing strategies, only to discover, 15 minutes later, that she was in the wrong meeting and on a completely different floor from her office. Jennifer's distraction reached new heights when she went to visit a friend who had just had a baby. Excited and carrying a large teddy bear, she entered the first room she saw, approached the crib, and cheerfully exclaimed, "Wow! This baby doesn't look anything like the father." It was then she noticed the confused look of the mother in the bed, a complete stranger. Jennifer had entered the wrong room, leaving both the family and the nursing staff bewildered by her grand entrance and unexpected comment. Despite these embarrassing moments, Jennifer was adored by everyone around her. Her sweet nature and carefree manner made people view her blunders with affection and amusement. She had a stable job as a graphic designer, where her creativity and ability to think outside the box, often a result of her distraction, were valued. It was in this context of a life full of small involuntary adventures that Jennifer received an invitation that would change her life. Her longtime friend Melissa had moved into a new house and was planning a double celebration, a birthday celebration and a housewarming party. The chosen theme was spring, and all the guests were to wear colourful clothes to celebrate. Jennifer was excited about the idea. She had the perfect dress for the occasion, a floral model with an explosion of bright and cheerful colours that seemed to have been made especially for this event. To make her participation even more festive, she decided she would bring not only the cake for the party, but also a large bouquet of colourful balloons. On the day of the party, Jennifer dressed with care. Her dress was a spectacle of flowers and colours, complemented by vibrant pink shoes and equally flashy accessories. She looked at herself in the mirror, satisfied with the result. "Melissa is going to love it," she thought, imagining her friend's joyful reaction. With the cake carefully placed on the passenger seat and the balloons occupying almost the entire back space of the car, Jennifer set off towards Melissa's new house. It was her first time going there, and the neighbourhood streets were unfamiliar to her. After a few turns and consultations with the GPS, she finally spotted a house with several cars parked in front and a considerable movement of people. "Finally arrived!" she exclaimed to herself, relieved that she wasn't as late as she feared. She quickly parked, grabbed the cake with one hand and the balloons with the other, and hurriedly walked toward the house entrance. She was so focused on not dropping anything that she barely looked around. Pushing the slightly open door with her shoulder, Jennifer entered the house, cheerfully shouting, "Congratulations! I brought the cake!" Her broad smile and lively voice echoed through the room, but they were met with a deathly silence. It was then that Jennifer finally looked around, and the reality hit her like a bucket of cold water. The atmosphere was not festive as she had expected. On the contrary, it was engulfed in a grim and heavy mood. The people, all dressed in black, stared at her with expressions ranging from shock to indignation. Jennifer felt the blood drain from her face. Her body froze, and she stood there, frozen at the entrance, holding a colourful cake and a bouquet of balloons, grotesquely contrasting with the sombre atmosphere of the place. The truth was inescapable. She had entered the wrong house and was in the middle of a wake. "I think I've got the wrong house, I'm sorry," she murmured, feeling mortified. She began to slowly back away towards the door, wishing the ground would open up and swallow her right then and there. It was in this moment of profound embarrassment that Jennifer heard a familiar voice calling her name. Turning around, she recognized Kevin, a colleague she occasionally saw in the company hallways. "Kevin?" she asked, her voice barely audible. Kevin approached, a sympathetic smile on his face. "What an entrance you made, Jennifer," he said, with a surprisingly light and amused tone for the situation. "Oh, Kevin, what a shame. I'm sorry about that." "Was he your relative?" Jennifer asked, feeling even more awful for possibly having ruined the funeral of someone close to Kevin. "It's all right," Kevin replied to Jennifer's relief. "He was a great uncle who lived a long and grumpy 98 years. I think everyone would agree that his funeral was livelier than his life." The kindness and the humour in Kevin's voice helped Jennifer relax a bit. She quickly explained that she was on her way to a friend's party and had gotten the address mixed up. Kevin, understanding the situation, pointed out that the house Jennifer was looking for was probably the last one on the street. Thanking him profusely and apologising once again, Jennifer said goodbye and hurried away, still carrying the cake and balloons. Finally arriving at the right house, she was welcomed by Melissa and the other guests, all dressed in vibrant colours and ready to celebrate. As she recounted what had just happened, Jennifer, to her surprise, saw the story met with laughter and good-humoured comments. The funeral incident quickly became the anecdote of the night, with everyone toasting to Jennifer's unique ability to bring colour even to the darkest moments. The party proceeded cheerfully, with Jennifer gradually recovering from her initial embarrassment and enjoying the company of friends. However, even amidst the laughter and music, she couldn't get the unexpected encounter with Kevin and the kind way he handled the situation out of her mind. The following Monday, Jennifer arrived at work still remembering the weekend incident. Determined to keep her head in place and avoid further distractions, she focused on her tasks, responding to emails and reviewing projects with unusual attention. However, fate, or perhaps her distracted nature, had other plans. In the middle of the morning, Jennifer was on her way to the bathroom when she received an important message on her phone. Distracted by reading it, she walked towards the bathroom, her eyes glued to the device's screen. It was only when she heard a surprised shout that Jennifer realized her mistake. She had entered the men's bathroom. And to her horror and embarrassment, who was there but Kevin? "Oh my God, I'm sorry," Jennifer shouted, covering her eyes and running out of the bathroom. Her face was as red as a tomato as she hurried back to her desk, feeling mortified for the second time in 3 days. A few minutes later, while Jennifer was still trying to recover from the incident, she sensed a presence beside her desk. It was Kevin, with an amused smile on his face. "First, you crash my uncle's funeral. Now you invade the bathroom while I'm there. I think you're stalking me," he joked, his tone light and friendly. Jennifer felt her face heat up even more. "Oh, Kevin, I don't know what to do. My distraction keeps getting the best of me. I can't apologize enough," she said, hiding her face in her hands. Kevin laughed softly. "How about we have lunch together today? That way you can apologize properly," he suggested, with a twinkle in his eyes that Jennifer couldn't help but notice. Surprised, but pleasantly touched by the invitation, Jennifer accepted. She had always thought Kevin was a nice guy, but never had the opportunity to get closer to him. They agreed to meet at the restaurant across from the building where they worked. At noon, Jennifer went down to the restaurant, determined not to make any more blunders. However, as she entered the establishment, her mind wandered momentarily, and she sat at the table she thought was the right one. It was only when she looked ahead that she realized the man in front of her was not Kevin. Mortified, Jennifer heard a familiar laugh coming from behind. Kevin was sitting at the next table, waving and laughing at yet another instance of her distraction. Blushing, Jennifer apologized to the stranger and joined Kevin, who was still laughing at the situation. "Sorry, I think my distraction is incurable," said Jennifer, sitting down. Kevin smiled fondly. "Don't apologize. Actually, I find your distraction adorable. I've never met anyone as unique and interesting as you, Jennifer." That lunch marked the beginning of something special between Jennifer and Kevin. In the months that followed, they grew closer and closer. Kevin, with his patience and sense of humor, helped Jennifer deal with her distractions in a way she had never experienced before. He began leaving little reminders for her, colorful post-its on her work desk, affectionate messages on her phone, even notes on the refrigerator when they started spending more time at each other's homes. Kevin joked that if they ever got married, Jennifer would need to be very careful not to end up marrying the wrong groom. Their relationship blossomed, based not only on mutual attraction, but also on a deep understanding and acceptance of each other's quirks. Jennifer discovered that with Kevin, her distraction naturally lessened. She felt more present, more connected to the world around her. A year after the funeral incident, Kevin proposed to Jennifer. The proposal was made at the same restaurant where they had their first lunch together, with Kevin ensuring that Jennifer sat at the right table this time. On the wedding day, Jennifer was radiant in her white dress, standing in front of the church doors. For a moment, butterflies in her stomach assailed her. "Am I at the right wedding?" she wondered, a twinge of her old insecurity surfacing. But when the doors opened and she saw Kevin waiting for her at the altar, all nervousness vanished. Her eyes locked onto him, and Jennifer felt a clarity she rarely experienced. With Kevin, she never truly got distracted. Her eyes and her heart always found him, no matter how confusing the world around might seem. As she walked down the aisle, Jennifer reflected on how her distraction, which had so often been a source of embarrassment, ended up leading her to the love of her life. The wrong funeral, the swapped restroom, all the little mishaps that brought them closer. Each moment of distraction now seemed like a necessary step toward this perfect moment. Upon reaching the altar and taking Kevin's hands, Jennifer smiled, feeling completely present and focused. She knew that with him by her side, she would always find her way back, no matter how distracted she might become. And so, in front of friends and family, including some unexpected guests from the fateful funeral, Jennifer and Kevin exchanged their vows. It was the beginning of a new journey, filled with love, laughter, and undoubtedly some memorable distractions along the way. As they exited the church as newlyweds, Jennifer whispered to Kevin, "I think I managed to marry the right groom." Kevin laughed and replied, "And I was lucky enough to marry the most unique and wonderful bride in the world. I can't wait to see what adventure your next distraction will lead us to." If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.